Today I want to talk about the painful past. There are a lot of people who have come to this point in life and by this point I mean today. And that may mean that you're 15 years old. It may mean you're 12 years old. It may mean you're 45 or 52 or 75 years old. And at the point that you're at today, you can look back over the days, weeks, months, years, decades that led you here and be honest and say, I've had some painful memories. I've lost loved ones. I've been taken advantage of. I've been denied. I've been betrayed. I've been accused. Maybe for something that you actually did wrong. Maybe for something that you didn't do wrong, but you were wrongfully accused for. Maybe you paid the price for someone else's mistakes. But now you're here today, still alive, and looking at life going, what's next? What I want to talk to you about today is how those painful memories of the past become powerful potential for the future. See, one of the challenges we realize today is how many, especially young people, and when I say young, I mean millennials and younger. Millennials are considered by most to be that 18 to 25 or 30 range, but they're raising children now. And many millennials are just coming out of college. Many of them are just beginning to see what life is like on your own for real. When mom and dad aren't there to bail you out anymore, when the bank account that used to be shared joint account with mom and dad siphoning money off as needed or wanted dries up, as life begins to deal you the blows that no one told you were coming, no one predicted how hard it was going to be, or if they did, maybe it wasn't heard. Now they're raising children. And I've seen the evidence of some of these young people, 7th and 8th grade now, who are being raised by millennials, who are, many of them, back at home with mom and dad. Yes, back at home with mom and dad and raising a 7th and 8th grader. Some of them are still riding that curve. They're now working on their master's degree or even a more advanced degree, and they're raising kids. And life is beginning to change the way it looks. And yet, the entitlement mentality, the entitlement attitude that seems to be pervasive in that generational gap is following through to the kids in an unprecedented way. So what we find is the potential for them to do great things is often covered over by their lack of contact with reality. They've been told, as their parents were, everything's going to work out fine. Mom and dad are going to bail you out. There'll never be any pain. Nothing's going to go wrong. But then they get into the school system, or they get into public education, or they get into just daily life. And it doesn't work that well. In fact, the expectation that everything's going to work out fine and it's all going to be okay and nothing's going to go wrong for you and mommy and daddy are going to protect you usually only works until that first day of school when other humans deeply engage themselves in your life. When teachers come along, when classmates come along, when the bully from the neighborhood or the bully from the school comes along. That's when life begins to change a little bit. But see, we who are on the other side of that, those of us who have walked that path, who've encountered the bully, and trust me, the corruption that causes a bully in elementary school doesn't change in middle school, and it doesn't change in high school, and it doesn't change in college, and it doesn't change in the workplace. The character that is a bully, unless it's changed in the bully, just keeps coming. I mean, there are movies about it. There are movies about it all the time. There's a song, I believe it's by, I can usually tell you the name of the band. I can't this moment, but the song is called High School Never Ends. And in the song, High School Never Ends, they actually talk about how that whole class warfare in high school, those are the jocks, and those are the pretty people, and those are the nerds, and those are the computer people, and those are the skaters, and those are the druggies, and those are the emos. When they come out of high school, they continue to do the same thing because Dale Carnegie was right over 100 years ago. Charlie Tremendous Jones said it again. It's been repeated 1,000 times since then, and it's true today. You will become like the 5 people you hang out with. If all your friends are emos, you're probably an emo. If all your friends are jocks, you're probably a jock. I mean, even the movie Transformers, you see that little bit of class warfare and how the jocks are picking on the nerds, etc., etc. That process doesn't end, but it does teach you. And so from the painful past, from being bullied, from being taken advantage of, from being deprived of opportunities, from being told you're less than, you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not handsome enough, you're not strong enough, you're not fast enough. From being told all your life you're not enough. And moving into adulthood and realizing there's nothing stopping me because my potential is unlimited. My ability to do is only limited by my ability to imagine. When we can take those painful moments of the past and overlay them with our accomplishments, we have a very powerful potential to change people's lives because we've seen both sides of that same coin. We've seen people say you're not fast enough, strong enough, good enough, pretty enough for this, but then the successes in our life look at us and say, yeah, but I was able to accomplish this. Maybe I didn't start in the NFL, but I did write a book. Maybe I didn't get the job that I wanted in physical science or nuclear physics or as a rocket scientist, but I did raise a family. And to look at those accomplishments and say, yeah, there were some things that I failed at in my life, but there were also some things that I succeeded at. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer a young person or someone who's been bullied or lied to or manipulated all their life or just simply told you're not good enough. Sometimes the best thing you can offer them is a small win. To help them identify a success and celebrate it. And it seems silly. In fact, when we think about the fact that the entitlement generation, the millennials, many of the challenges that they face today, many of the entitled expectations that they face today have to do with the fact that since they were 5 or 6 years old, they've received a ribbon or a trophy or an award, an attaboy for everything they've ever done. But see, there's this gap in reality from every teacher, every parent, every friend, every society, every organization awarding, and then suddenly they stop. And there was a time that you got a star next to your name if you came to school with the right socks on. And there was a time that you got a star next to your name if you made your bed. And there was a time that you got a star next to your name if you turned in your homework, even if you didn't get it all right. And there was a time that you got a trophy when you showed up on the soccer field, even if you didn't play. And who cares if the team won? And then there's a time when all of that stops. There's a time when all of that stops. And the paycheck doesn't come unless you show up at work. And not just show up at work with matching socks, but show up at work and do good work. Because you may show up at work, but sloppy work will get you another job or a big gap between jobs. And that gap in reality between I've always gotten the stars, I've always gotten the brownie buttons, I've always gotten the trophies, I've always received the ribbons, to now reality says there's nobody else in the world but you who cares if your bed was made this morning. There's nobody else on the planet who gives a rip whether your left sock and your right sock are mates. There's no one who cares if your shoes fit you well or don't fit at all. You're not going to get a trophy, you're not going to get a ribbon, you're not going to get an award for that. Good luck. And the challenge that presents is that this now treasured past, this life of ease and everything working the way it was supposed to. And look, I have to be honest and say, it's not just the millennials, it's happened for all of time. That as long as mom and dad were kind of looking out for you, or at least mom or at least dad looking out for you, watching over you, maybe it was your teachers, but then you step out of high school and reality starts. You go off to college, maybe you still got a little financial support from mom and dad, maybe you got a little help while you were going through school, you had some student loans and you didn't have the debt right in front of your face, but the day you graduate from there, the day you finish that process and start working in the world, there's nobody to call you at 7 a.m. and go, hey, make sure you're up in time. Hey, your work schedule has to start right now. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And for decades, there are those of us who have plowed through that. We've gotten ourselves out of bed in the morning, sometimes without even an alarm clock. We've shown up at work. We've done the work to the best of our ability. Our diligence has proved that we have great potential, and we're continuing to press into that potential, continuing to press into that potential, continuing to press into that potential. And we're looking for the next opportunity. We're looking for something else to come along. We're looking to be better than we are today. That gap between someone's going to take care of me, someone's going to wake me up, someone's going to applaud me for putting my socks on right, someone's going to applaud me for showing up at work, someone's going to applaud me for going to school today. That gap between those two is a challenge. And for a lot of people, that gap has no answer. They can read all the books, they can go to the right seminars and get some information, but it takes someone walking along beside them to say, listen, I need you to understand that no one else cares if you showed up at work this morning. Save your boss, who will fire you if you don't, and you, who wants a paycheck. The rest of the world will go on one way or the other. All of life will continue whether you show up there or you don't. That's just reality. And when you understand that, you have the chance to change your future. If your expectation is that people will always applaud me just for being there, you're going to be very disappointed. And here's where that disappointment begins to take place. It's not just the disappointment in people who no longer give you stars and brownie buttons and trophies. The disappointment begins to take place in yourself because something all along has given you a false sense of self-esteem. And now you're looking at yourself and you're going, but I've always received the trophy. What did I do wrong? I've always been told you're awesome. Why am I not getting that now? What's wrong with me that the accolades have stopped? Where did I fail that I'm no longer seeing this? You've also got to be able to contrast the realities of life with the fact that even when mom and dad are trying to protect us, even when mom and dad's cash flow is helping meet everyday bills and being able to put tires on the car and being able to pay for the car insurance and be able to make sure your car gets an oil change and still have money to go to the movies and still have money to take your girlfriend or boyfriend out on a date and still have the opportunity to go on vacation. When all of that stops and you're on your own, you've got to realize there are some who never had any of that. There are some who were molested by their parents, who were abandoned by their parents, who were paid nothing. I got my first job at 13 years old. It was not legal to work at 13 years old, but I was showing up every day right after school and bagging groceries and carrying them out to the car. And by the time I was old enough to work, they basically just put me on the payroll and said, keep doing what you're doing. And I worked in that same grocery store until I went off to college. And I transferred to another grocery store of the same chain. And I stayed there for a year before I joined the Air Force. I did get fired for stealing a ham and went to work at another grocery store, but that's what I did until I joined the Air Force. That starting early, working hard, staying long, is not the expectation for everybody. A lot of parents don't expect their kids to work when they're in high school because they want them to focus on their education, and that's fine if mom and dad can support that. A lot of parents don't want their kids to work while they're in college for the same reason. They want them to focus on the quality of their education. And again, if they can afford that, that's fine. But then there are those people that have started off early. They got their first job, they got their first career, they got their first opportunity right out of high school. They started making money. They started seeing success in their life. They started seeing things move forward. They started seeing great hope and great opportunity. And it's because they found the ability to overcome. Sometimes that comes from the painful past. That potential often comes from those who've had to overcome early. Now, I'm not saying that those who have a great education, because mom and dad covered them through high school and they didn't have to have a job, that they made it through college without having to have a job. They made it through their advanced degrees without having to have a job. I'm not going to say that those people aren't going to have great potential. They have great education. They have great opportunity. Obviously, they come from a great family. But those who have started off young as entrepreneurs and they've had to plow in to be able to find success because of the painful past, of being abused, being neglected, being abandoned, not having enough, growing up, those who overcome early have great tenacity to go along with their potential. I believe that a painful past doesn't mean the end of your success. A painful past is not a stamp of disapproval. A painful past doesn't mean the world doesn't love you, there is no opportunity for you, that because you were abused, because you were abandoned, because you made stupid mistakes as a kid, because you got addicted at 13, because you were 20 before you found freedom, that there's no hope for you in life. I don't believe that for 1 second, because I believe in grace and I believe in second chances. And I believe that even if you're 30 or 40 or 60, that the painful past, the mistakes that you've made, the people that you've hurt, the pain that's been brought to you, again, the loss of a loved one, an addiction, an ended career, that does not mean the end of your road. What it means is you've been prepared in another way to help someone else. Because there are those who are just now finishing up their high school careers or their college careers, and they're about to step out into life and go, look, no one's ever treated me like that. And rather than a meltdown, what they need is a mentor. They need someone who says, I've been there before. I know what it feels like to be treated like that. And I can also tell you, there's a whole lot ahead of you. That one relationship, that one idiot, that one bully, that shouldn't mark your life. That's not what decides what your future is. What decides your future is how hard you're willing to work. What decides your future is what you're willing to invest in yourself. What decides your future is limited only by your imagination. Your potential is wrapped up in your imagination. Take that imagination and add to it effort, and you can do just about anything. The only thing stopping you is you. The painful past doesn't mean the end. It means you've been taught a lot early on. You've met the hard knocks of life early in your life. You didn't have to have a PhD. Doesn't matter if you do. Maybe that's a great advantage. It doesn't matter if you have a PhD. The pain and the hard knocks have given you a deep treasure of understanding, a deep treasure of human nature, a deep treasure of powerful potential that you can push forward into the future and mentor those who are just getting started in life. I want to challenge you today. If you're the type of person who looks back on the pain of the past and says, this is the reason I can't move forward. I've always been, and I never got, and I've always been taken from. If that's you, I want you to stop today and ask yourself, if I'm looking at someone whose life has always been blessed, and now they're facing hard times, what advice could I give them? What courage could I share with them? What learnings have changed my future, have changed my present from what my painful past was that would drive them forward? Don't just take advantage of the things that you've learned for yourself. Be a mentor and pour into someone else whose life needs to be transitioned and changed. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're in the Dallas, Texas area, starting on June the 1st through July the 1st, and I can't remember exactly what the date is. I think it's June 8th. It's the first Saturday in June. I think it's June 8th. That first Saturday in June, I'm going to start a book study called The 5 Battle Strategies of a Victorious Warrior. Now, it's only for live. You have to attend live. And so it will be for 10 people. We're going to meet at the Starbucks here in Cedar Hill at 8 o'clock on Saturday mornings. And we're going to do that for 5 weeks. And we're going to walk through identify, confess, repent, forgive, forget. We're going to talk about the pains of the past and how addiction can bind you up and tear out your future. I'm going to teach you how to overcome things. I spent 25 years addicted. So I'm going to teach you how to overcome some things, how to put some strategies in place that will help your mind win. If that's something you want to be a part of, send me a private message. I'm only reserving 10 seats because there's limited space at the Starbucks and because I want to be able to deeply pour into the people who are a part of this process. This is about mentoring. This is about walking with people through, and I don't care what your age is. I don't care if you're 10, 25, 35, or 65. You're welcome to come. Just be one of the first 10 people that sends me a private message and says, I want to be there. And we'll get you signed up for it. There's no cost. Just show up. I'll provide the books. I'll provide the materials. I'll provide the handouts. I'll give you reading assignments every week. We'll spend about an hour and a half together each Saturday for 5 weeks. And then we'll see what happens at the end of that. But you're invited to be a part of that. Again, in Cedar Hill, Texas. If you can't get here, maybe there'll be a video later. No promises. This is a mentoring program designed for those who want to find strength and power in their life, who want to fight addictions, who want to move from the painful past to the potential power of their future. If that's you or someone you know, have them send me a private message on Facebook or just email me at jlorennorris@gmail.com. jlorennorris@gmail.com. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, please hit the subscribe button. You'll get this notification every morning at 6:20, and I will be glad to spend time with you every day. I am J. Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.